Assalamu alaikum everyone. We are here again live with another very informative session. This is about protection of women rights against harassment at workplace. Definitely, this is a very sensitive issue in our male-dominated society. But this is the fact is the harassment cases are really rising in some places where is inequality of rights. So why we are discussing this? Because at corporate level, the woman rising of women, like the rising of women capacities and jobs, the eventually when each and everything is interlinked. So, so today's session, we will also discuss the problems of harassments, the reason behind what are the reasons. Either this is the lack of acts or any legislations, or either this is the problem of a society. I will not talk about this is only issue in Asian societies. This is very common factors and common problem in all societies where the women are going work out they leave for houses from your for work. So the Jobian women all the time faces such kind of problems. This is not true at all. Yes, because somehow the faces this problem, but the thing is when something happening mishappening such kind of acts, so this create some kind of hype in our society. But how to protect such kind of happenings and mishappenings in our society is a basic right for a woman or even every entity. Either it's from a working lady or from a housewife. But so for this session, we are invited a very well known and mashallah, very talented uh,
Lawyer.
yes.
Yes, he's advocate High Court. His name is
Uh,
Muhammad Asim Mumtaz,
yes,
as you can see on
ex-NAB
screens.
prosecutors.
He has been his ex-NAB prosecutor, and he is extraordinary in his professional capacities, and he has done some high-profile cases as well. He has extraordinary capabilities and expertise in corporate law and many other fields, and currently working on and doing intensive R&D on cyber crimes and other things that are related to this.
The
So we
white
will
collar crime.
just welcome Muhammad Hassan Taz.
Thank you. Thank
Can you
you.
hear us? Yeah.
Yes, sure. Can
Uh,
you hear me, please?
yes, yes. So I will just sum up with one note that even though harassment
So,
word sounds bit negative, but this is critically important in a situation where if we consider the women when she is on work, if she is threatened by any means that can be even just the bad eyes, or there can be any other mean that makes her uncomfortable, so this decreases her productivity down to zero.
Yeah.
So as we all know that we are promoting healthy mindsets, so this session is continuity of that. So we will be advocating this, that we should
The protection
yeah,
of women
exactly,
rights.
encourage
Yes.
the environment that is peaceful for everyone. So now I will move chat to discussion to Mr. Asan Mumtaz, and he will resume further.
thank you. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Some
First, Bismillah Rahman Rahim. We will start with the topic. As it's obvious from the very heading of the webinar that it's intended to create a basic awareness between the audience and the listeners about the actual harassment and the outcomes and the possible implications arising out of the harassment, particularly against women on the workplaces, and the current legal system onto this, and how the women, especially in Pakistan, can protect themselves from any such episodes or incidents of harassment, and without any fear of being complained against or being victimized on account of such complaints. because in the recent past, although the history of harassment, not only in Pakistan, but it's extraterritorial, and it has long and far reaching consequences, especially with respect to the women who dare to come out, who really intend to do something, who really want to excel in their profession and their careers. But unfortunately, because of the negativity and the unproductive and unhealthy atmospheres or the working atmospheres, either they quit or they feel compelled to compromise onto their person and prestige. So the harassment basically is not person specific, it's rather the atmosphere or the mind specific. Either it's in Pakistan or in India or even any other country in the world, there are many examples of harassment and many illustrations where the women, even having ordinarily talented ladies, they had to quit. So first, I think I would start with the basic and the fundamental rights the women have in our society, irrespective of their religion or their sets of beliefs or their territorial areas or their faiths, because the rights, particularly of the fundamental human rights, whether these pertain to a man or a woman, are very inherent in nature. They are inherent by birth. They are not bound or dependent onto one's existence or in the society or the existence of any legal mechanism or a platform. So, to have a right, it's not mandatory that one should belong to a particular community, or one should live in a particular society, or one should be subject to a particular legal
Yeah.
system. So, the
Yes.
rights are very basic and fundamental in nature, like the right to live happily, the right to live peacefully, the right to education, the right to self dignity and preservation, the right to live freely and to have the lifestyle of one's own choice, except it's not prohibited by the law. So
Yeah.
these are the rights which one has by his very birth in the universe. ये जो राइट्स हैं ये किसी पर्टिकुलर इंसिडेंट पे डिपेंडेंट नहीं है, और ना ये किसी कानून के ताबे हैं, और ना ही किसी सिस्टम या किसी भी एम्प्लॉयमेंट कल्चर या ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की स्वीट विल या डिस्क्रेशन पे है. So the women rights, particularly when we speak of, these rights are not legal specific. I mean, as I explained earlier, that these rights are not dependent onto the existence of any particular legal system. But there is a fine distinction between the two, that there are few rights which the law specifically regulates. The law specifically guarantees and
Yeah.
ensures that in case there is an infringement to such right, or in case there is violation or anticipated damage to such right, then one has a specific legal right to bring the law into action. So,
Yeah.
as I said earlier, that the human rights, the fundamental rights, and specifically the women rights have now two distinct aspects. One is that such rights are fundamental, and the second is that there is another category of rights which, though are fundamental, but have specific recognition in the legal systems of different
Mm.
countries, including that of the United Nations. Now, coming
Yeah.
from even from religious point of view, because our topic today is confined to the protection of women from harassment at workplace. So, coming back to this, first, I remember that I used to teach criminology to distinguish the students who opted for the competitive exams in Pakistan. So, the important question which one of the students put me was that, sir, where do we find the justification for women to opt for entrepreneurship or to engage into business or any profession? Because normally in conventional societies, it is
Yes.
assumed, it is believed that the women do not have the liberty of getting into or engaging into business because they are confined to their
Mm.
domestic responsibilities. So my answer to that was that the first and the foremost and the only example in the universe which justifies or permits the women to get into entrepreneurship is that Janabi Khadija was also one
Yeah.
of the most richest and established
Yeah.
business person on earth, and
Indeed.
and and her
Indeed.
wedlock with the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So if had there been any prohibition in Islam
mm,
or any other system, either of morality or of legal system or of religion, then there must have been prohibition of onto Hazrat Khadija Salamullah alaiha as well. So legally it is
yes,
justified.
okay,
Women have equal protection, they have equal rights, and they have equal independence to opt the academics of their own choices, and also to form the ventures or to join any business or profession, provided that this is not either prohibited by the law or the religion or the set of beliefs they belong to. So now, moving forward, I will come to the territorial limits, the legal system of Pakistan later, but I would first elaborate that how internationally the women have protection to their rights. There are numerous conventions and the treaties like the United Nations, the Universal Convention on Universal Declaration of Human Rights, that is considered to be one and the foremost document which protects human and particularly the fundamental rights relating to women also. Its Article 323 also guarantees and ensures that every single individual in the universe shall have an equal right, irrespective of his or her gender, to participate into the profession of his or own choice, and to join any profession, irrespective or independent of any limitations or any restrictions. So this principally guarantees that any person, so person means whether he is a man or he is a woman, so they have equal right to participate and to have a chance to work in a free atmosphere. Then secondly comes the international covenants on the social and economic rights, and then is the CEDAW, the foremost convention, particularly which is attached to the women's protection. That is the Convention against elimination of all sorts of discrimination against women. So this convention, as adopted and ratified by Pakistan, also ensures and guarantees that the governments ratifying this convention shall be bound by this convention to make and to legislate certain laws to ensure that in their respective cultures, academic or the professional organizations, there is no discrimination, there is no exploitation of the women,
yeah,
and they will ensure the existence of such a healthy and a productive atmosphere that women will be free to join the
yes,
profession
definitely.
whatever they want, and they will not be
Mm,
discriminated or they will not be exploited. Then comes the ILOs, the International Labor Organizations. There are two conventions. One is the ILO 100 and second is the ILO 111. Both these conventions also guarantee, the ILO 100 guarantees that the ratifying states shall also be bound to ensure equal remuneration of to the women and the men, subject that they are performing the similar duties. So this is also a guarantee to women that if they are performing any particular job in any organization or independently, being women, they will have they will have a right to have equal remuneration, provided that they are performing similar duties as the men are performing in the similar organization. So then comes the
yeah,
ILO
Right.
1
yes,
and
yes,
111, yeah, triple
mm,
one कहते हैं, that also ensures the
yeah,
existence of healthy and competition oriented atmosphere so that the women feel encouraged, empowered, protected, and motivated so that they can excel in their respective areas. They should not feel
yeah,
confined and limited, that no, because they're women so they don't have that much of the liberty as compared to the men. So they can do whatever they want in an organization. So these
yes,
are the basic. I will repeat just for audience that there are four fundamental conventions. One is the UNDHR, Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The second is that International Covenants for Cultural, Economic, and Social Rights. And then is the CEDA, that is Convention again for Elimination of All Sorts of Discrimination Against Women. And the fourth is ILO 100, and the fifth is ILO 111. So these are the principal documents internationally accepted and adopted by different ratifying states who are members to the United Nations. And now, by virtue of their being members and signatories to such, they are bound to legislate and to make laws for enhancement
mm,
and enforcement of the purpose. So now coming
yeah,
to the Pakistan system in the market now, in Pakistan, though there were different laws prior to 2010, but in
yeah,
2010
2010.
there was a dire need because, with the growth of entrepreneurship in Pakistan,
Yeah,
with the growth of commercial activities in Pakistan, their history has witnessed a significant influx of women from different segments of the academics, like the engineers, like the doctors, the lawyers, and even certain other professions that women were participating. So there
yeah,
are certain statistics, unfortunately, also based on the surveys by the Human Rights Commission of Pakistan and certain other non-governmental organizations in Pakistan as well, that numerous females and the ladies and the women working in different organizations specifically complained that they are subjected to harassment because of
yeah,
their being gender specific.
mm,
They were mentally coerced. They were subjected to certain unbecoming gestures and postures. They were also
mm,
criticized. They were also provided with less opportunities to participate and to
mm,
have a healthy atmosphere as compared
mm,
to men working in the similar
live,
organizations.
yeah,
Realizing this and also under responsibility by virtue of the ratification of the UN conventions, the federal government of Pakistan also had a compulsion to legislate. So in 2010,
mm,
there was first legislation that is named as Women Protection Act 2010, or otherwise we also call it the Protection of Women from Harassment at
yeah,
Workplace Act
workplace,
2010. So this is
yeah,
the first document in the legal history of Pakistan, which provides for specific guarantees to women, especially when they are performing their respective duties and obligations in any particular organizations. So this law itself first defines the harassment, then provides for the mechanisms for how to lodge complaints. Then also it gives certain limitations and also restricts and casts a duty onto the employer that to form a complaint resolution mechanism whenever such complaints are coming. And then committee has to be formed and it has its own redressal criteria. And then there is a verdict, the power to pass verdict to punish the person who has been complained against. So this is a very beautiful law, I must say. Though there has been certain criticism onto it in past,
yeah,
but in totality, uh, can you hear me, please?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we can hear.
Yeah, like the law of
Sorry.
workplace of harassment in
So
section, I
though
think
there
this
has
is
been
section
certain criticism,
509 in Penal Pakistan Code.
but in totality,
The section 509, this is, I think,
this is
Penal
five.
Code of Pakistan.
That is no, no. This is Pakistan Penal Code. Let me explain, Ms. Saima. Actually, in any
Okay.
country, and specifically speaking of Pakistan, there are different legal systems, sorry, laws relating to different subjects. Like if we
Yeah,
speak of the crime, generally then there is Pakistan Penal Code. So this is a penal law which defines certain offenses like theft, robbery, murder, dacoity, and the financial frauds, etc. And
yeah,
509 is also one of the offenses where the modesty of a woman is
okay.
protected. So
Yeah,
anyone, because the protection of women from harassment, which is the subject of this webinar today, that is confined to the working atmosphere alone. Means like a
yeah,
woman is working in any particular organization, and if she is harassed or subjected to any unpleasant and unbecoming contact or gestures, then in
yeah,
such case she has certain protections which she can avail. But generally, if she is not working at that moment, she is like
yeah,
subjected in market or any open place, then this law will not help us. Then the general criminal law will come in field. Like you said rightly, there is section 509. This protects,
yeah.
significantly protects women from being subjected to their
Workplace.
modesty and
Yeah,
their workplace, not the workplace alone. So, like there is Section 354
Okay.
and 354A of Pakistan
Right.
Penal Code. This also provide that no one shall be allowed to subject to women to any unpleasant gestures. Like he will not even allowed to look at in a way that she feels unprotected or
Yes. Yes.
she feels
Definitely.
unsafe.
Definitely.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you see this is such a heinous offense that it has up to 14 years of punishment. So if this offense is proved, and if the women is able to show establish that this person committed the offense under section 354 or 354A, supposedly a quarrel happens and a person tears women's clothes unfortunately, then and even any part of her body is exposed to public, then the women has such so much of the protection, and this crime is designated as so heinous that the punishment is so severe that it has 14 years of
Mm.
punishment, up to 14.
14
So
Yes.
years.
from this
14
one can
years of
14
visualize
years
that
of
how
imprisonment.
the law
Mm.
takes the prestige and dignity of a woman and how constitutional our legal
Definitely.
system is.
Definitely.
Irrespective of the fact that there are shortcomings in our legal system, there are shortcomings and loopholes in the prosecution system, but we cannot deny that the law has protected this. Something different.
Yeah.
Sorry, there is a bit distortion in your voice. Can you repeat, please?
No, no. We were just agreeing, to your comments that,
Yes. Because
Shall I
we
resume,
believe
please?
all the time that yes, because we believe all the time not all harassment or sexual harassment. Sometimes some unpleasant and unwelcome remarks, or even some eye contact, or someone is
Uh,
chasing you, or someone is
Seek your pardon,
taunting you. Yes,
Mr. Qasim.
or
In fact,
even
there is a bit distortion. I really can't hear you, please.
okay, distortions there.
but we can hear you well. Uh,
Okay, hello, can you hear us? No, I think I should not. Okay. Um,
yep, we can hear
hello.
well.
Might be a signals issue, but I think it's restored
Okay,
now.
yeah, it's some signal issues is there.
Is
Yes.
it fine now?
So coming back to yes, I think there is some signals issue. So no problem. We have to go with this. Uh, Coming back to the women protection, particularly at workplace, I must repeat that this law is basically a purpose specific. This and the guarantees provided in this law are confined to the workplace alone. So, if we speak of the otherwise, like if any women or participant in the today's webinar has any question about their rights other than the workplace, then there is different law, that is the Pakistan Penal Code, and also the protection the Prevention of Electronic Crimes Act 2016. If there is any crime on with the intervention of the information and communication technology, or with the use of, sorry, not intervention. So coming back, so first one has to understand that what is harassment, because there are examples too that if something I feel bad but the law does not regard
Mm,
it as a bad. So at the
mm,
same time, there are situations that where something which I don't take that serious, but the law says no, though you
mm,
don't take action, but this is bad in the law. So harassment is not simply that I feel myself to be harassed or I take it to be a harassment. No, the law says that because today's topic is confined to harassment against women alone, so I will be purpose specific. So when we speak of the harassment from this law point of view, particularly from this aspect, then harassment means that any gesture, any posture which is unbecoming
mm.
and which lets the other side feel insecure or mentally or physically or psychologically harassed or
Yeah.
overpowered
Yes.
or under or compromised in a way that she feels that I am not being treated the way a man or sorry or a
Mm,
person should be treated, not a man, a person. So in that case, the law says that this is harassment, because the essence of this law is not simply to protect women from harassment and to punish the person who is causing the harassment. The essence
Yeah.
of this law is to encourage women to equally participate in any working organization or atmosphere, and so that they can excel without any fear of being discriminated or being subjected to any unpleasant or unbecoming postures or gestures, and they can
Mm.
psychologically and mentally free and work accordingly. So we have to bear in mind. So the harassment, as I explained, is not the one that I feel harassed. इसकी तारीफ ये नहीं है कि मैं ये कहूँ कि मैं खुद को हरासा फील कर रहा हूँ. इसकी तारीफ ये है कि कानून के दायरे में आपने देखना है कि अगर आप किसी के किसी खास इशारे से, गेस्चर से, या उसके बात करने के अंदाज से, या उसे आपकी तरफ देखने के अंदाज से आप खुद को इनसिक्योर फील करते हैं, या आप महसूस
Mm.
करते हैं कि नहीं, ये शख्स मुझे किसी गलीज या किसी या नाखुशगवार या किसी गलत इरादे या सिर्फ मेरी सिंफ के जो है वो मुख्तलिफ होने की हैसियत से, क्योंकि मैं खातून हूँ, तो लिहाजा मुझे ये अंडर पावर या कॉम्प्रोमाइज़ कर रहा है, या मेरी डिग्निटी को जो है वो कॉम्प्रोमाइज़ कर सकता है, तो लिहाजा मैं फ्रीली या खुद को आज़ाद महसूस नहीं कर रही. तो ये इस कानून की रोशनी में हरासमेंट का मीनिंग स्पेसिफिक
Mm.
ये है.
Mm.
नाउ कम्स द क्वेश्चन कि इफ इट हैपेंस, अगर ऐसा होता है तो फिर आपके पास रेमेडीज क्या है. सबसे पहले तो ये जानना जरूरी कि ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इरिस्पेक्टिव वो कौन सी वर्क प्लेस है, इस लॉ के तहत तमाम ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस, वेदर दे आर पब्लिक ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस, पब्लिक सेक्टर, और द प्राइवेट सेक्टर, मींस गवर्नमेंट डिपार्टमेंट्स हैं, वेदर दे आर ऑपरेटेड बाय स्टेट गवर्नमेंट और द प्रोविंशियल गवर्नमेंट्स, ऑटोनमस बॉडीज हैं, कॉरपोरेशंस हैं, स्टैट्यूटरी इदारे हैं, या कंपनीज हैं, इंडस्ट्रीज हैं, जहां जहां भी लोग काम करते हैं, ये तमाम ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जो हैं इस कानून के डोमेन में आते हैं. अब
Mm.
फर्स्ट कंपल्शन जो इस लॉ के तहत एम्प्लॉयर पे है, बिकॉज कंप्लेंट तो बाद में आएगी जब कंप्लेंट मैकेनिज्म होगा तब. सो हाउ द कंप्लेंट हैज टू बी फाइल्ड. सो बिफोर दैट द लॉ मैंडेट्स ऑन टू द एम्प्लॉयर that to constitute a complaint resolution committee. So that committee has to form three persons. One is from the senior member of the senior management, any person from the senior management of the employer, and second, a female from the employer side, and thirdly, any of the representative from the employee side. Means के तीन लोग होंगे, दो एम्प्लॉयर की साइड पे, एक सीनियर एम्प्लॉयर की मैनेजमेंट कैडर के साहब होंगे, एक उनमें से खातून होंगी, और एक जो है वो एम्प्लॉय की नुमाइंदगी करने के लिए अपनी ख्वाहिश से वो किसी को भी, अपने कोलीग्स को, फ्रेंड्स को जो उस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन
Mm.
में से है, नॉमिनेट कर सकते हैं. सो कमेटी जब कॉन्स्टिट्यूट हो जाएगी, और ये लाजिम है irrespective की complaints हों या ना हो. Law says कि by the time this law comes into force, means कि अब 2010 से onwards तमाम organizations पे ये कदगन है, ये लाजिम है that they have to constitute complaint committees, whether there are complaints or not, that is a different thing, but the
Mm.
committees have to be there. And now the second thing is that they have to formulate a code of conduct. They have to formulate a code of conduct
Code
that
of
while
conduct.
sitting in an organization, while working in an organization, both the male and the female, or the all the employees, they have to follow certain code of conduct that has to be formulated by the employer, and it has to be visibly displayed by the employer onto any notice board, etc. of the organization जहाँ पे भी वो employees काम करते हैं. So these are the two fundamental restrictions, और इसकी violation की punishment भी है. So this is mandatory for the employer. कोई complain करे ना करे, that is separate thing, but there is a
Mm.
law which provides कि employer पे ये लाजिम है कि उसने committee constitute करनी है, और उस कमेटी के साथ साथ एक डिसिप्लिनरी कोड ऑफ कॉन्डक्ट भी फॉर्मुलेट करना है कि ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के अंदर रहते हुए एम्प्लॉयज़ ने कौन कौन सी चीज़ों का ख्याल रखना है. ऊंची आवाज़ से बात नहीं करनी, बदतहजीबी से बात नहीं करनी, खवातीन पुलिस की तरफ हिरासा
Mm.
करने वाली निगाह से नहीं देखना, बोतान नहीं बांधना, जोक्स नहीं करने, या एक अनप्लेजेंट गेस्टर्स नहीं देने, सो दैट कि कोई खुद को इनसिक्योर या कॉम्प्रोमाइज
Insecure or uncomfortable feel ना करें.
comfortable feel na kare. So once these two steps are done, now coming to the third step, if there is any harassment. Now the question is, if there is, if a women employee comes to the
Mm.
employer and says, "कि जी, मुझे फला, I have this complaint against such and such of my colleagues, then the
mm,
committee has to receive that complaint, and within 3 days of the receipt of that complaint, the committee has to issue notice to the person against whom the complaint is lodged. And
okay,
that person has to be given at least 7 days time. 7 days
okay,
time to respond to that complaint, either positively or negatively, whatever his stance may be, कि नहीं ऐसा नहीं
right,
ऐसा है
right,
ये इल्जाम है या कोई भी। अब इस पे
mm,
एक इंटरेस्टिंग बात, बिकॉज देर आर सर्टन ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के जो थोड़ी रिवेंजफुल हो जाती हैं, इवन एम्प्लॉयर्स हिमसेल्फ के अगेंस्ट भी कंप्लेन्स होती हैं हैरेसमेंट की, तो इन सच केस जो है वो एम्प्लॉय किसके पास, पुलिस की हद तक तो कंप्लेन आप कर सकते हैं। तो इन सच
Yes,
केस
exactly.
द लॉ मैंडेट्स की अगर ऐसी कंप्लेन्स हैं आती हैं, तो उस एम्प्लॉय को पहली बात कि ड्यूरिंग द पेंडेंसी ऑफ कंप्लेन मुलाजमत से नहीं निकाला जाएगा। यहाँ एक टेंडेंसी अनफॉर्चुनेटली है, किसी खातून ने कोई जायज़ कंप्लेन या शिकायत भी की, तो उन्होंने कहा ठीक है आप शिकायत करती हैं, ठीक है आप अपने घर जाएं। So this fundamental
mm,
protection is available to women in any organization, कि अगर वो आके कोई शिकायत करती हैं अपने
mm,
किसी कोलीग के
mm,
अगेंस्ट कि मुझे इस शख्स ने मेरे ने हिरासा की है, ये मेरे साथ ये मुझे जो जो कानून के ज़ुम्रे में हिरासा करने की तारीफ है। In such
mm,
case,
mm,
the committee has to take notice, and during pendency or resolution of that complaint, such complainant cannot be dismissed or relieved from the services. So this is the first protection. Now, the second is that the person against whom the complaint is filed has to reply that complaint in within 7 days, either whatever his stance may be onto that. Then he will be given a chance to confront. The lady may be asked to come up with the evidence. She may have some colleagues like कि हाँ जी मेरे सामने इनके साथ ये वाक़या हुआ, I'm the witness. Might be she might
mm,
have received some threatening emails or voice notes or WhatsApp
yeah,
messages. She might have some other evidences too. वो एविडेंसेस जो है लॉ में ये राइट है इक्वल बोथ पार्टीज का, कि जो भी इन सपोर्ट ऑफ हर क्लेम वट एवर एविडेंस शी हैज टू प्रेजेंट इट बिफोर द कमेटी. सो वंस द कमेटी
okay,
आफ्टर थ्रेशिंग आउट द एविडेंस फ्रॉम बोथ साइड्स, कंप्लेनेंट की साइड से भी और एम्प्लॉय की साइड से भी, then the committee may form an opinion and may
okay,
communicate its recommendations to the authority. Authority means कि जो
okay,
एम्प्लॉय विद इन दी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जो हायर लेवल पे है, जैसे एक कंपनी के सीईओ हैं, वो नीचे 3 अपने एम्प्लॉयज की कमेटी बनाते हैं, और कमेटी फैक्ट फाइंडिंग करके वो सीईओ को रिकमेंड करेंगे कि हमने ये सारा मामला देखा है एंड वी हैव कम टू दिस पर्टिकुलर कंक्लूजन कि आइदर द कंप्लेंट इज फाइन और इट पार्शली फाइन और नॉट और इट्स इल मोटिवेटेड, वट एवर जो भी उनकी उस पर इन्वेस्टिगेशन होंगी. So after that, the authority means the ultimate employer has the authority to pass penalties or to impose penalties. अब वो पेनल्टीज दो तरह की हैं, माइनर भी है और मेजर भी है. माइनर पेनल्टी में यह है कि उनका इंक्रीमेंट स्टॉप किया जा सकता है, उनकी प्रमोशन को फॉर सर्टेन पीरियड रोका जा सकता है, उनके किसी सर्टेन जॉब बेनिफिट्स को रोका जा सकता है, कोई इंसेंटिव है,
mm,
कोई बोनस है, एक्सेट्रा. जो मेजर पेनल्टीज हैं उसमें से इंश्योर है कि आप डिमोट कर सकते हैं, अगर सीनियर लेवल पे हैं तो आप उन्हें जूनियर लेवल पे डिमोट कर सकते हैं. इसी तरह आप
mm,
उनको डिसमिस या टर्मिनेट फ्रॉम सर्विस कर सकते हैं. आप उन्हें कॉम्पनसेशन ऑर्डर कर सकते हैं दैट यू हैव कॉज this much of the mental stress and agony to this complainant, so you also pay
mm,
this amount as damages or fine or penalty to this. So these are the mechanisms. So now coming back,
okay,
if there is an order by the committee against the person against whom the complaint is filed, then he has one remedy to approach the ombudsperson. So there is ombudsperson in Pakistan, which acts as a women protection ombudsperson. So if there is any complaint, either the complaint is dismissed or the person against whom complaint is filed is punished. Then in both cases, either party may lodge an appeal to the ombudsperson. Then the ombudsperson has same rights and powers to pass either to confirm the orders against the person complaint or to
mm,
uphold the whatever uh, जो भी उनके merits पे जो findings होंगी. So this is the
mm,
precise mechanism which this particular law, which we name as the Women Protection Act of 2010 or the Protection of Women from Harassment at Workplace Act, provides. Though there are certain other procedural requirements which I think, just to save time, I will not delve much into, but I will leave the audience, if any, to come up if with their questions, whatever they have.
mm,
So, I had one thought that, as you said, this is compulsory to constitute a committee that entertains complaints.
Yes.
Uh, Yeah. So, do companies needs to maintain some documents in this regard that they have, or I mean, how they should be,
Yes, of
I
course,
mean, managed?
because
Yeah.
yes, they do have to. They do have to.
Like they have to make some term and policies against this.
No, they need to maintain a record. Legally and
Yeah.
procedurally, they need to maintain a register of complaints, and
Hmm.
the status of the complaints are
Hmm.
exactly. They also have to formulate a code of conduct. They have to formulate a code of conduct, and every
Yeah, yeah,
employee has a right to know about that. And even the law mandates that this has to be placed visibly so that every employee has a chance to read that code of conduct.
Right. So, one more thing I was thinking, it's our common issue that committees are not transparent in their decisions. So, especially when complaint is from the
hmm.
management and the complaint is
Executives.
filed
Yeah.
from by the employee, then how do you think if committee that is constituted is not transparent or they are not fail to decide what is right, then what employee should do in that case?
Nice disclosure.
Hmm.
No, can you please type your question because again there is a bit distortion, so I can't get your question properly.
Yeah, I assume as well.
Yeah.
Uh, can you hear now? Right. We will
I
write
can.
here.
Uh, I'm sending you.
That's the question again.
Yeah.
So can you repeat?
Can you hear us again now?
Yes, sure. Now I can hear you, please.
Yeah. I was asking that it's quite common in that if a complaint is filed against the management, and a committee will definitely not decide something that it should be. I mean, they won't be transparent in most of the cases.
Hmm.
So what the employee should do in such situation?
Yes, you're right. First, the law has already provided a check onto the committee, in a sense that the one of the members of the committee is from the employee, and one member is
Right.
from the women's side, and one is from the senior management. So, if the complaint is even against one of the members of the committee, then he has to recuse himself. Means he cannot remain on the committee. Then some other person can take his place, and the person who has been complained against will not have any interference in the entire proceedings of the committee.
Right. Perfect.
So
Sami, do you
the
have
law
any
has
questions?
provided certain checks and ensure fairness
Because
and
I think,
transparency.
yes,
Yeah.
how we can handle such kind of issues or if we can control such kind of issues. In my point of view, the organization should conduct some training programs like this to raise awareness about equality of gender.
Yes, I would say exactly, because you see, there are lots of illustrations, particularly case studies also, that 30% or rather 40% of the real complaints were not lodged because the women did not have awareness of their
Yeah,
rights to lodge complaints, or they were not
Right.
sure that whether the complaints will be resolved or not. So
yeah,
the fundamental problem is that why people don't report is that either there is lack of trust onto the system, or they are not even aware of the efficacies of the
yeah,
system or the rights available to them by the law. So, like in this particular case, this is a special law, but unfortunately, there is no awareness mechanism. I'm sure you would have seldom seen this law even before. So this might be the first occasion that you are getting to know about this law. So there is a necessity of the workshops and the seminars,
Yes.
either at the public level or even at least the organizational level, so that the
Organizational
whole
level.
of the employees, irrespective whether they are men or women, because both can be effectees of any of the things, of the
Yeah.
felonies,
Yeah.
they can avail the proper remedy, and a healthy, productive, and congenial atmosphere, working atmosphere can be ensured.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. A scare in like a secure and healthy and productive environment always raise a
We
well
are
of
also
business.
into offering such things. We are,
Yes. So this is
Yes.
that.
So I think we should conclude here. We are more or less done with the initial
thank you,
thoughts,
thank you.
Oh,
and we definitely look forward to have some plan that encourages more
yes.
awareness. Where
Like some training programs
yeah,
of
some training
awareness
from,
to
but
create a healthy environment in
yes,
organizations.
yeah, exactly, and that also
Yes.
means there should be a systematic way to give awareness of such laws
We can come up
that
with
protects
that.
the women.
We of course
Yeah,
can come up with that. Yes, you are absolutely right, because the lack of awareness is
yeah,
something. Because I have studied a lot that the letting someone not know of what he is entitled to is one of the sins in the system. So
yes,
unfortunately, same is prevalent in Pakistan. There is a majority of the people that is not even aware of what their basic rights and protections
Yeah,
are.
yeah,
So
definitely,
they take it for
definitely.
granted and they follow. So that is the reason
Yeah,
that the crime and the wrongdoings are increasing on day. If there is a deterrence, either at the institutional level or at the national level, then I'm sure the gravity of such felonies will eliminate to a certain extent.
yeah,
So
yes,
awareness is
agree,
must.
agree,
Then only we
definitely.
can ensure that the people can start reporting and complaining.
yes,
Yes,
yes, most
agree, agree.
definitely.
So
Thank
any
you
more
so much.
questions, please?
No, it's absolutely fine. Thank
And
you so
Thank
much
thanks
for
for
you,
your
your
thank
time.
you.
thanks for your joining. It was really an informative session about, especially for female
Thank
Yeah,
you.
who are working in a workplace or because she's come out from homes for their livelihood, for their passion. But the one thing is, when a man choose this is career, but the when women choose this is only a job. So we have to change some this kind of
Yes,
psychology
exactly.
and give the
So
awareness to rights of human.
yeah, sure.
we will.
Okay, thank you so
I'm
much.
sure. Thank you once again. Thanks to look all vaulting. Thank you,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you so much for joining.